In this lesson, we'll take a more detailed look at second moment models for random vectors, and we'll show how to use those models for linear interpolation of missing elements in a random signal. Let's begin by summarizing the second order or second moment model for the random vector x. Now the first moment is the expected value, or the mean vector, mu. And the second moment, or expected value for the outer product, is the correlation matrix, R. And the second central moment, or the expected value of the mean removed outer product, is the covariance matrix, C, which is equal to the correlation matrix minus the outer product for the mean vector. Now, one important role for these second-order descriptions of a random vector involves determining the mean squared error between a random vector and some other deterministic vector value b. Now, the squared error is the inner product of the error with itself, which is also equal to the trace of the outer product of the error vector. Then, because the trace and expectation are linear operators, we can swap their order and then get an expression that involves the trace of three matrices, which can be expressed in terms of the covariance matrix and the mean vector and the unknown vector b. Then we could gather all the terms involving the mean and the vector b to get a result that looks like this. That is, the mean square error between a random vector and some deterministic vector b is equal to the sum of the squared errors between the random vector's mean and the deterministic vector b plus the trace of the random vector's covariance matrix. Now, sometimes we'll be interested in the relationship between two random vectors, and when we do that, the cross correlation, which is the expected value of the outer product of the two vectors, is an important matrix quantity, as is the closely related cross covariance, which is the expected value for the outer product of the random vectors with their means removed. Now, much like we found with the covariance, the cross covariance is equal to the cross correlation minus the outer product of the means. Now, as the notation suggests, the order that we specify the two vectors in the cross correlation and cross covariance matters. That is, these definitions are specifically stated for the cross correlation and the cross covariance for x followed by y. Now, if we reverse the order, then the cross correlation matrix will be transposed, as will the cross covariance matrix. Now, to be clear, if x is an n-element random vector and y is an m-element random vector, the cross correlation and the cross covariance for x with y will be an n by m matrix, whereas when we look at those quantities for y to x, they'll be m by n. Now, with these definitions, we can think about the mean square error between two random vectors, provided that they both have the same length. Well, this is the trace of the expected value for the outer product of their difference, which is the trace of the autocorrelation for x plus the autocorrelation for y minus the cross correlation for x and y minus the cross correlation for y with x. And in terms of the covariance and cross covariance matrices, could be rewritten like this, where we now need to include a term with the means. And so if we wanted to find the squared error, the mean square error between two random vectors, it would be the difference between the squared error between their means plus the trace of the two covariance matrices minus the trace of the two cross covariance matrices. Now, we'll often encounter a situation where we apply a linear transformation of a random vector to create another random vector. Here we've shown this as y is equal to h, some matrix h times x. And in this case, the mean for the transformed vector is the transformed mean vector, and the covariance matrix is the product of the transformation matrix h times the covariance for the input vector x times the transpose of the transformation matrix. And the transformed autocorrelation matrix is obtained in the same way. Now, as an example of how we might use these ideas, let's suppose that y is equal to h times x, And we'd like to transform y by some other matrix G to estimate x. In a sense, we want to invert the transformation H, and when H is a square full-rank matrix, making G the inverse for H would recover x perfectly. But in other situations, particularly when the y vector has fewer elements than the x vector, we'd like a more general approach to determining the matrix G. Now to do this, we'll pick the matrix G to minimize the mean square error, where we can write our estimate for x as the product of G times H times x. Now if we use the trace notation and expand the outer product, we'll find that the mean square error contains these terms. Then if we differentiate this mean square error with respect to each element of the matrix G, and then set those derivatives to 0, we'll get the following condition for the matrix G to satisfy, which, if we rewrite it like this, would give us an expression for the matrix G that would minimize the mean square error. Now for a specific example, let's assume that the autocorrelation matrix for x looks like this, where alpha is equal to 0.9. Now what this tells us is that the element in the nth row in the nth column is equal to alpha raised to the power absolute value of n minus m. Then let's suppose that the observation matrix is such that the first element in y is equal to the first element in x, the second element in y is equal to the 11th element in the vector x, and the third element is equal to the 21st element, and so on. That is, the matrix H acquires every 10th sample of the vector x, and the estimator then must interpolate between those 10 values by using the second-order model for the process. Well, here, for example, is what a plot of the elements of x might look like if it contains 500 elements. Now, for the purpose of this display, the elements are connected with a line to give the appearance of a signal that fluctuates in time, as it might, for example, if it corresponded to samples of a speech signal. Now the observations, every 10th sample, are represented here by the red circles. Now consistent with the model, these correspond to one observation for every 10 signal samples. Now by using the method we've outlined here with the particular correlation matrix and observation matrix, we could estimate all the values between the samples. And if we connected those with a line, we'd see something that looks like this. Now, whereas our interpolation has smoothed much of the variation in the signal, we've still been able to retain some of its overall shape. Now, in a subsequent lesson, we'll continue our discussion of second-moment models by examining the spectral representation for correlation and covariance matrices.